Once you realize how powerful your brain is, you stop living on autopilot and you can start consciously creating your life. So here are the 5 things that I do differently in my life since learning many, many years ago how powerful my brain is and how much it does dictate the life that I live. 1 is I have gratitude for something before it happens. Ultimately, gratitude is the number 1 thing that changed my life. I brought this story up before in past videos, but when I was at like one of the lowest points in my life, when I was like working 3 jobs, barely making ends meet, and I was just so negative up here, I hated my life. My life sucked. I could not find one good thing about my life. And then my mentor said, find me 3 good things to be thankful for. And it was like pulling teeth the first time. But then I started doing that, and every single day it started getting easier and easier and easier to find 3 things. And then I would do 5, and then I would do 10, and then I would fill up an entire page of just things that I was thankful for. And I realized the point of that was to shift my focus and to start training my brain to focus on what I already did have. To start giving thanks in all circumstances, because this is the Lord's will for you in Christ Jesus. Because when you feel gratitude, your brain releases dopamine. Because gratitude is just not emotional, it's neurological. And dopamine tells your brain, this matters, repeat this. And when you give thanks for something, not only the things that you have, but also the things that you want to have, as if you already have them, you are creating a state of abundance inside of you, because that's what gratitude does. Gratitude removes you out of scarcity. It removes you from focusing on all the lack of like, oh, I don't have this, and oh, I don't have that, and all this. No. Gratitude says, wow, I'm so thankful that I have breath in my lungs. I'm so thankful that I was able to get up this morning. I'm so thankful that I have clothes on my body. I'm thankful that I have food in my stomach. I'm thankful that I have a job to pay for my bills. I'm thankful that I have bills to pay for. Now you're putting your body into a state of abundance, into a state of relaxation. And then when you are in a state of relaxation, you can start creating. Now you can have vision rather than scarcity, where you're trying to survive. And now you're like, wow, I'm so thankful for XYZ. I'm so thankful for that job. I am so thankful for this amount of subscribers. I'm so thankful for this item that I've been wanting. I'm so thankful for this new house, whatever it is. Even the Bible says, believe you have received and you shall receive, by your faith be it unto you. If you want something, you have to have and assume that you already have it. In New Age terminology, that'd be called the law of assumption, assuming the end state as if it's already here. So the second thing I do is I control my inner dialogue. Your words become the house that you live in. By your words, you are either condemned or you are either justified. You are either cursed or you are blessed. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. Okay, your thoughts truly do become things. Your thoughts are your instructions. Okay, the same thoughts that you're using for worry and you're using for pessimism, you can put that energy into the direction of possibility. Okay, your brain is constantly scanning for evidence to match what you tell it. Your RAS system is designed to look for what you program it to. So if you are constantly negative and constantly complaining about all the things going wrong, you're training your brain to look for more things to go wrong. Okay, and then you're naturally attracting those things into your life. But if you're training your brain to be grateful and to romanticize your life and to look at all the things going right, now your brain's gonna look for more things to go right. It's gonna like, oh, you like this experience? Okay, I'm gonna repeat this experience for you. Because again, your thoughts become things. Your inner world will over time reflect into the outer world. Nothing that is hidden up here will remain hidden. It will be revealed in its timing. So if your inner voice is fear-based, your reality will reflect that. Even the Gita talks about this. For the one who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for the one who has failed to do so, the mind will remain the greatest enemy. And even the Tao talks about that. Watch your thoughts, they become your actions. And the Bible says, as a man thinketh, so is he. Whether you can or you can't, you are absolutely right. So instead of asking, what could go wrong? What's the worst case scenario? How about we start asking, what's the best that could happen? What's the best case scenario? Because you're not eliminating your thoughts, you're just redirecting, again, that energy into creating possibility, into creating a future with vision out of faith rather than fear. The third thing I do is I repeat. Repetition builds a groove. Every time you think a thought, okay, it builds this groove in the psyche. And over time, this thought gets deeper and deeper and deeper, or it grows like a tree. Okay, that's another example that people use sometimes, is your thoughts are kind of like a garden, okay? And this little seed then starts sprouting, and every time you water that thought, every time you water that action, it then grows more and more and more. And then so if you have this tree trunk of negativity and pessimism in your mind, and you have one little seed that you just now planted of positivity, you need to have the repetition. So that way your energy will start feeding this seed and watering the seed, and that way this tree trunk can die over time, and now you have a new program that's being born, and that's a stronger new repetition. And I repeat, not just thoughts, but also my actions, because what you do once does not change your life, but what you repeat absolutely will change your life. If you have been thinking for the past 15 years, negative thoughts, one little positive affirmation is not magically going to burn down that house. Okay, it's not going to magically just get rid of that programming. But every time you reinforce a new action and a new identity and a new belief system and a new feeling and a new state, now brick by brick by brick, you're building a new state of being. And over time, you now have a whole new identity. You now have a house of positivity. You now have a refuge against the negativity instead of being taken captive in a stronghold of negativity. Because the fourth thing I do with that is I protect my environment. Feng Shui is a real thing, my folks, okay? I don't know how much you've looked into that. I don't know if you've ever even heard the term Feng Shui, but your environment very much does reflect your inner state, and it very much does also affect your inner state. I know personally, especially in the past, I've got a little bit of the ADHD, okay? When I am working on creative projects and my brain has 20 tabs that are open and it's like, I need to look up this book and this and this. It's reflecting into my outer environment. Okay, I have piles of books, I have piles of papers, I have piles of this, because that's what it looks like in my mind. And so I've also learned with that, as I've gotten in tune to myself and I've reconnected into my body, when I see clutter slowly form up in my house, I take that as a sign to pause and be like, okay, what's going on in here? Where am I starting to be out of alignment in here? Because when I am in harmony and I am in alignment in myself, my house is like spotless. And it's not out of stress and OCD anymore. It's just out of a pure, this house is clean and happy, so out here is clean and happy. Okay, so I protect my environment because your brain mirrors what it's exposed to. And that's what I talk about in my upcoming book, You Are Art, which gets released May 18th. Mark your calendars. It is an invitation to examine your identity and your belief systems of the conditioning and the performance and all of these things that are going on inside of your mind of this environment. And then also it's like, hey, what's going on? Where's this mental clutter? What clutter do you have? And what clutter do you have out here? Because your brain ultimately does mirror your environment. Your belief systems are created by the choices, the thoughts, and the feelings that you are making every single day. All of it. All of that is shaping your nervous system. And if your system is constantly stressed, if you have a messy house, you are not creating. You are surviving. Okay, I remember when I was a child, my great-grandmother, she lived in the Great Depression, okay? And I remember when she died, she had a closet in her kitchen just full of like Tupperware containers and old like Cool Whip containers and all these containers that she saved. And I remember looking at my mom being like, why does she have all these? Like, who in their right mind is using all that shit? Okay? And my mom was just like, she grew up in the Great Depression, okay? Like she learned how to survive. So this is her state of survival. And I started to notice that in my family because, again, epigenetics, your parents' genetics are simply a predisposition. They're not your destiny, okay? And you can change your destiny by changing your thoughts and feelings. Just because your dad was an alcoholic does not mean you need to become an alcoholic, okay? Now, yes, you might struggle with addiction a little bit more because addiction runs in your family, but you can turn off those patterns in your body by conscious rewiring of the brain and rewiring of the nervous system. And so with my family, I noticed the patterns of hoarding that would kind of happen in the survival mode. Because my great grandma, she would hoard all that stuff. She would hoard buttons and she'd hoard like the cookies and all that kind of stuff. My grandmother's sister, she hoarded clothes. Okay, like she would buy, like if she saw a shirt in the color red, she would buy it also in the blue and the purple. And she would buy all three. And I just remember being a kid looking into this huge walk-in closet that's like the size of my bedroom. Okay, and she literally just had piles of clothes that she never touched. And then my mom, she had her own things. And my aunt, she would hoard food and fabrics. And each of this went down in my family. And I noticed myself when I would be in survival mode in the past, I would usually just keep all my old clothes. Like, oh, I need to save that. Because that was definitely my mom. Oh, you can save that and give it to your brother. Everybody got to wear black. And I also would hoard food. Because food was a scarcity thing in my house growing up. So I didn't sometimes know. I'm like, oh, I need to hoard this. And so over time, when I did start to become self-aware and I started to change the patterns in my life, I am naturally a minimalist person. When I am healthy, if I don't need it, it's fucking gone. Okay, like that's who I naturally am. So when I noticed clutter would pick up in my life, when I really started becoming consciously aware of my environment and my environment in here, I realized the patterns that I was repeating out of survival. And my environment was just reflecting the state of survival that was in my nervous system. Because if your nervous system is in a state of survival, it's in scarcity. And scarcity what? Scarcity holds on to things for a good intention. Oh, I might need this one day. Oh, this could happen. But abundance knows and is aware that, hey, if I need that again, that item that I have not used in 5 years, if I magically need that again in the next 6 months, life is going to bring it to my doorstep because I always have what I need. Okay, so I guarantee you, do some self-evaluation. Do you have clothes that you've just worn for years now that are frumpy and they're bleach stained and they've got holes and rips? What does your sock drawer and underwear drawer look like? All right, like let's look at our self-care. How do we care for our temples? Have you not bought new underwear in the past 3 to 4 years? Like, let's just self-evaluate. What does your food closet look like? Do you have expired food that you're just holding on to in case, scarcity? Do you have old Tupperware that is just spaghetti stained and that has just been sitting there for years and years and years and you could honestly clean up? What does your environment look like? Your bookshelf. Do you have books that you collected and you just haven't read and they're just taking up space? Does your space bring you peace? Does it bring you safety? Does it bring you, I can relax? When you look up from your bed, do you see piles of clothes that stress you out? Do you see a stuffed, chocked full closet? Or do you see a closet that just has energy flowing and it's relaxing to look at? Do you have a counter when you walk into your kitchen? That Midwest American counter, okay? My family had one, you might have one. And it just is piled with papers and bills and random toys and rocks and seashells and all this other shit, and it's just overwhelming you. What does your garage look like? Seriously, what is the environment? And then how does your body react? Do you feel dread coming home to look at the mess? Or do you know when you walk through that door and you're done with work for the day, you're done driving through traffic, your house is clean and organized, and you're like, I can relax. I can look at pretty pieces of art on my wall and see beauty in my home, and I allow my nervous system to come into a state of safety. Because as the Tao says, to the mind that is still, the whole universe surrenders. Peace is not passive, it is strategic, because a regulated nervous system is a creative one. A nervous system that is not regulated is a nervous system that consumes, but a regulated nervous system is one that creates. Which takes me to number 5 of identity and neuroplasticity. And the 5th thing I do is I understand how my brain rewires itself. I know myself intently, okay? Because through repetition, your brain changes, and that is called neuroplasticity. And here's the deeper layer. Your brain does not organize around what you want. It organizes around who you believe you are, that identity. So I stopped saying, oh, I want to be a YouTuber. I stopped visualizing the identity of who I want it to be out there. Because I did. For years, I'm like, yeah, I want to be a YouTuber. I want to do this. I want to do that. But I would always visualize it as something that I want, or once I get this, then I'll be that person. And I actually started acting and moving as somebody who already is. That's, again, faith and works. Action is the greatest form of belief. If you believe something to be true, you're going to act and embody that. Okay, you're going to start thinking like them. You're going to start acting like them. And you're going to start holding yourself to the standard of that person. Identity. You have to embody the new identity. The thoughts and the emotions have to be in coherence, the right and the left side of your mind, okay? They have to be in coherence to birth the new child, the new identity inside of you. Because you live in a mental universe. So if you want to expand your money vessel to create more money, you not only need to reprogram your subliminal messaging in your mind that money is safe to hold, and I'm sorry, but everything out here in the matrix does opposite, okay? In religion, you've got, oh, money's the root of all evil. No, Susan, it's the love of money is the root of all evil, okay? When you put money as your master, when you are pursuing that more than you're pursuing your God-given purpose and dreams and desires, that's an issue, okay? In superhero movies, who's the bad guy? Always the one with a lot of money, right? What do they program in the modern day? Oh, those Nepo babies, oh, those billionaires, they're just cruel and wicked and evil. And I'm not saying that people who have a lot of money sometimes don't make bad decisions. Money's just a magnifier for people's choices, because I personally know a lot of rich people who do a lot of good in the world. So whatever you're focusing your mind on, and then you're identifying is like, if you're saying somebody who's rich is evil and you want to be rich, but you don't want to view yourself as an evil person, you're never going to be rich. Because you're telling yourself, rich people are evil, and you're saying, well, I want to be rich, but I don't want to be evil. You see the discoherence? Okay, so you have to say money is just neutral, and how it's used just exemplifies that person's character. Okay, so you need to take the stories that you might have around money and you need to remove them and rewire them. That is where I've talked about subliminal messaging and rampages, okay? Every single day, it takes like 21 days to create a habit. Every single day, I listen to subliminal messaging. Sometimes when I sleep, sometimes when I'm just listening, like if I just want to like focus and work on writing, I'll just turn on that white noise with the subliminal programming underneath. And there's subliminal messaging for money. There's subliminal messaging for self-concept, for relationships, for whatever it is. Start reprogramming that. And yeah, over time, you're going to notice a difference. Over time, you're going to notice a different way that you react to the world. And then you need to reparent your nervous system. If you have beliefs like, yeah, I'm safe with money, I'm wise with money, this, that, the other. And if you're visualizing when you spend money, yep, this comes back to me 3 times its amount. That's great. But if your nervous system doesn't feel safe with more money, it's going to self-sabotage. And it's going to find a way to attract things that self-sabotage for you, so that way the money goes out because it doesn't feel safe holding that. It doesn't feel safe being seen with that new level of a vessel. So you have to expand your vessel so that way it's safe to hold that type of money. Because as the Gita says, a man is made by his belief. As he believes, so he becomes. And the Tao talks about, when I let go of who I am, I become what I might be. When you identify with false things, when you identify with a story that you're telling yourself in your mind, and I have a video about that, so you're just the story that you tell yourself, you are not allowing yourself to write a new story. When you are constantly identifying with, oh, well, I'm this person, oh, I'm that, oh, I grew up on this side of the tracks, so I'm poor, blah, 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 then that's your, so shall it be? As a man thinketh, he becomes, okay? Your identity is not fixed, it is practiced. And it is practiced not only in your thoughts, but in your feelings and in your actions. Faith and works by your identity, and by the action, whatever identity you walk in, that is what's going to be unto you. Because over time, then your brain stops resisting it and it starts accepting it as truth. That is how powerful your brain is. Your brain is so powerful that if you believe it's powerless, then that's exactly it. If you believe that you can't change your life, then so shall it be. But if you believe that you can create a beautiful life no matter what it takes, then you're going to find the courage and you're going to find the energy and the strength to create that life. In 5 years from now, that you is going to be so proud that you decided to do the hard work, that you went through the mental turmoil of the valley of death up in here, that you went through the egoic death, that you went through the identity death of anything that is false. But most people, they don't want to change their lives. They want a quick, easy dopamine hit of a fix of, yep, this solved my problem for me, you know? That's why people love religion. Psychologically, when you study the psychology behind religion and why people love it, the certainty and comfort of it gives them a gold-plated excuse to not take accountability for their lives. Okay? But if you want to create your life, you got to take accountability for your life. Because if you don't hold the paintbrush, somebody else is going to be holding the paintbrush for you. And if that person's holding the paintbrush, they're getting to dictate what goes on in your house. They're going to get to dictate what they're going to program you with. And that means you're going to become a slave to the system. But if you want to be a master of your mind, somebody who is in control of their chariot, somebody who is consciously choosing what they're creating in their mind, well, then you got to take accountability. And accountability is the scariest thing in the world, but it's the most freeing thing in the world when you realize the power and authority that comes with it, and how powerful your brain is, and how powerful you are then to control your brain.